The last time these two met, Sydney enjoyed a narrow victory, but few of the Essendon stars made this trip. Coach Kevin Sheedy opting to rest most of his big names, including captain James Hird, Matthew Lloyd, Mark McCurry and Mark Johnson. Sydney already had 2 goals on the board before Kepler Brady got the Bombers on target. Almost at full strength for the first time this year, Sydney was running rings around the visitors early, with some good hands and a well-timed left boot punt from Matthew Davis to have the Swans well in control. Barry Hall set up Eamon Buchanan for Sydney's 4th major before the first change. While after the break, Essendon did hit back, scoring 2 goals of their own. Sydney's strength soon showed again. After sparking an attacking raid from deep inside their own quarter, it ended with Jared Crouch as the hidden dragon, breathing fire back into the Swans' forward line. A sight all Swans have wanted to see. Michael O'Loughlin running on for his first hit out of the season after hamstring and knee problems. The Swans, though, leaving a familiar calling card in the form of a hallmark. Big Barry on the ball, booting 6 goals as the Swans converted a 28-point halftime lead into an impressive win, 17-14 to 9-10. As if Supercross riding doesn't hold enough challenges for riders. But some just don't know when to stop. It's heart-in-the-mouth stuff for both rider and spectator in the big air comp. Newcastle's Matt Schubring proving he could stomach the big manoeuvres the best. The crowd telling the story as he took the honours. The local flavour spilled over in the Premier Pro Open class, literally, with Hunter product Danny Ham tasting the dirt early in the first semi-final. After working his way back into the lead, a second fall caused dramas again, but he still made it through to the decider. It looked like being another night for series leader Jay Marmont, who hadn't been beaten in the last 5 outings, but he struck trouble with officials for cutting the course. It was enough to see him disqualified after the race, but it wouldn't have mattered, as Ham was never troubled in the final and went on to claim his maiden victory for the series. In the pro lights, the bad luck for the Marmots continued with younger sibling Ryan crashing out, allowing American Greg Schnell to post a victory from Daniel McCoy. More familiar in the corporate community than a basketball stadium in recent years, Adrian Hurley's resume packs an impressive punch both on and off the court. Signing a 2-year deal today, he was straight down to business as he looks to lift a team that won only 2 games in its maiden season.
Well, there will be some changes. I won't hide that. There's got to be. If you've got to win, you've got to be fairly ruthless right from the top, and unfortunately that's the business of sport.
The former Australian Boomers coach also headed up the AIS program, but really made his name in the NBL at Perth with the Wildcats, where he won a championship. While player recruitment at the Pirates is the priority, his influence at the club will spread across more than just coaching, with his experience at all levels of the game to be drawn on.
I'm not interested in being competitive. I'm only interested in winning, and my intention is to win a championship and win it as soon as possible.
Interim coach Dave Simmons remains as assistant, along with Tim Mallon.
Very happy with my role, being there and being able to learn from the best.
Geordie Cullen certainly flourished under him. The forward named the Pirates' most valuable player for their inaugural season. It follows his inclusion for the All-Stars match, set down for next month. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Sponsor commitments may be keeping the current world champion out of the Energy Australia Open this year, but it's not all bad news. The man to take his place has been there before more than once.
Kelly Slater moves to the number 1 seed, which will make a very interesting round of 64.
Usually the tournament format sees the number 1 placed seed surf against the lowest wildcard in the first round of heats. If that's to happen, Kelly Slater will face off against 6-time and current female champion Layne Beachley. 12 world titles in one heat, it's a prospect that excites the contest's organisers.
It's a world first, it's going to be unbelievable and a fantastic moment for the sport of surfing.
Meanwhile, today saw the Billabong Indigenous Classic get underway at Newcastle Beach. And after yesterday's messy conditions kicked things off, today's surf looked promising for the rest of the festival.
The surf's picking up well, days clearing up, crowds coming in, and like I was saying before, a lot of competitors, and it's come along really good.
And it was a family affair in the finals this afternoon. Both Joel and Lara Haddon from Foster took the men's and women's honours. Martin Cudahy, NBN News.
Some punters at the Newcastle Jockey Club displayed shades of green today, no doubt hoping St Patrick brings them some good fortune, luck normally reserved for the Irish. But the 4-leaf clover certainly landed in the laps of race day organisers, securing the services of 5 top-billed race callers, a move that comes but once a year.
In fact, the last time it happened was here 12 months ago. It doesn't happen often enough. We all work together on air, but in different states, so it's a rare treat for us to get together.
Having called 23 Melbourne Cups, Victorian Greg Miles was among the visitors, given a tough call in the fifth.
They threw me into a nice finish. There was 4 across the track and a photo finish, so they could have looked after me a little bit better, I thought.
Brisbane's Alan Thomas was given race 6 honours, where Ruffy Bold Flash stole the show, paying $17.70. And what a day makes in the betting stakes, a subdued fiery venture from the Gay Waterhouse stable slipped down the pecking order. Bookies going with Caribou for the running of the NBN Newmarket, run over 1,400 metres. The Gay Waterhouse galloper returned $20.50 for the win, making for one healthy trifecta, paying a shade over $1,700. Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
It's not the announcement that has surprised Scone Council, instead the way and time the news was delivered. A media outlet informed former Mayor Barry Rose that he'd been sacked and local government elections deferred.
It's just a totally disgusting way to go about doing the business of government.
Scone will receive the eastern half of Murrurundi.
And Murrurundi is a beautiful town, and we don't owe them nothing, and why don't they leave us alone?
We must move forward. We can't live in the past.
In essence, the move means Scone will gain an extra 1,500 residents, boosting the population to almost 11,000. Newly appointed Upper Hunter Council General Manager Daryl Dutton says Murrurundi should expect improved economic developments.
We'll do our best to include them in the business of the new Upper Hunter Shire.
While councillors from both shires have been sacked, council employees have been guaranteed a further 3 years' work. This is how the council chambers will look for at least another 6 months, until the first Upper Hunter Council is elected in September. This has sparked outrage, some fearing there'll be a lack of community representation without a full council.
If it's going to affect Scone in any way, well, we don't need, any amalgamation.
Colleen West, NBN News. The high level of service within Hunter hospitals is now in jeopardy, with a lack of trained professionals available to work in the region. There's currently 61 clinical specialist vacancies in a range of areas, including emergency department doctors, general medicine physicians, paediatricians and anaesthetists.
Well, we provide a high level of service to the people in the Hunter, and the way we do that is we rely on the staff who are here picking up that extra load. But you can't do that forever. The staff are stretched and they require those vacancies to be filled.
The John Hunter's Emergency Department is the busiest in New South Wales, with 50,000 admissions each year, yet it is currently operating with a shortage of 3 specialists. Hunter Health is working to entice specialists out of Sydney, as well as trying to recruit staff from overseas. The state government is planning to hold a forum with health representatives in April to address the shortage of medical staff. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
It was a perfect day for the beach, but conditions for competitors at Surfest were anything but. Inconsistent half to 1 metre waves rolled onto the shore, leaving slim pickings for those trying to advance through today's rounds. Indigenous Classic winner Joe Haddon continued to shine in the round of 64. The Foster surfer powered through his heat with big turns and effortless ease. Now on his last year of the junior circuit, Merryweather's Travis Lynch is chasing big results. The 19-year-old managed just one wave in the first 10 minutes of his heat this afternoon, but Lynch's luck changed in the second 10. This 8.5-point ride afforded him a little breathing space and sealed him a spot in tomorrow's round of 32.
Yeah, I was a little scared because last year I had a pretty early knockout surf. In this round I got knocked, and Ryan got me last year, so it was good to get him back.
The highest scoring ride of the day, a 9.5, came from Western Australia's Yaden Nicol.
He likes waves like this, and he can do like an air if he needs to.
Competition resumes at Newcastle Beach tomorrow. Jessica Phillis, NBN News.
Conditions on day 6 of Surffest were testing both in and out of the water as ASDA officials made just their second spot check at a surfing event in this country. But there was nothing unnatural about Blake Thornton's efforts in the under-20s men's final, the Sydney sider feeling right at home, finishing first thanks largely to a 9.25 ride.
It's messy, it's just hard. I think I got all the luck in that heat, got most of the waves from what I saw, so I'm just stoked.
Playing catch-up, Merryweather's Travis Lynch.
I had one good wave, and then I couldn't get another wave after that. I sort of got a bit lost around there, but well done to him, and I'm happy with second, yeah.
In the women's, Amanda Clegg from Burleigh Heads edged out Rebecca Woods. However, the Copacabana natural footer still leads the junior series. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
It didn't matter whether you were in or out of the water today at Newcastle Beach. Chances were you would have been wet and cold either way. Spectators, let alone judges, had a hard enough time keeping track of competitors. Even ships waiting offshore disappeared from view as rain showers came and went like the waves.
We've had the fog the other morning, we've had lightning strikes, we've had everything. Now we've got a roaring sou'easter just to make our day.
And it's bound to make for long ones all week, with the event already racing against time.
We started 2 hours late this morning, which has put us in a fair bit of pressure.
That's even with a second bank in operation at South Newcastle. Judges perched in a makeshift caravan kept an eye on the scheduled 2.5 rounds of action that was due to hit the water today. However, they ended some 15 heats early after a massive blue bottle showed up. Hawaiian Ezra Sitt, one of the worst affected after duck diving a wave in his heat. The 22-year-old was treated for shock from multiple stings to his neck and body. It's hoped the contest can resume early tomorrow morning with 2 banks back in operation. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
It was an emotional evening for Mayor John Kilpatrick, almost 22 years on Lake Macquarie Council, finally drawing to an end. As a disgruntled ratepayer, John joined the council as an independent in 1974, when Charlestown Square was on everybody's lips.
I was pretty unhappy with things that were happening, and the usual thing, you got angry and someone said, well, why don't you stand? And I said, yeah, why not?
With wife Ellen by his side, he's been a very well-liked mayor, bringing stability to the council at a very rocky time in 1993, when Mayor Doug Carley resigned after a vote of no confidence from his colleagues. John's been the force behind many major improvements and projects in Lake Macquarie.
We've had the North Power Stadium at Glendale built, the art gallery. But the best part, I think, has been probably the work done on cleaning up the lake.
Unable to commit to another 4-year term, John decided it was time to step down.
I want to take up painting again. I like painting. Haven't done it for a long time. Yeah, we won't lose touch with people. We enjoy being with people.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Bulahdelah was bustling today as cyclists enjoyed a rest from their 9-day charity ride between Gloucester and Berowra. The flooded main street was a reminder of yesterday's deluge, during which riders suffered hypothermia and their campsite at the showground was flooded. But in true country style, no one was left without a dry place to sleep.
Found us, 1,000 people somewhere to stay in a couple of hours. It was just a miracle. So we just want to thank the whole town.
The School of Arts, the RSL, Library and Community Centre were all flung open to accommodate the riders. Local character Leo Newton took in 40 boarders.
Mate, absolutely happy. These people are riding for a good cause, Hey, why wouldn't you help them? They're inside and outside. Hey, I'm nearly have to move out.
All the town people have been so supportive. They've loaned verandas, sheds, wherever to put people up for the night. We've had carpet space taken up in the hotel. I think every community hall was open to allow people to have beds. And I think they'll remember Bulahdelah as being a great little friendly town.
I was with Michelle at the Catholic Church, so we've got to keep that a bit quiet. The priest doesn't know.
Good one.
To make up for lost time, the riders and bikes will be trucked to Raymond Terrace tomorrow morning before they pedal into Newcastle tomorrow afternoon. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
It was an emotional evening for Mayor John Kilpatrick, almost 22 years on Lake Macquarie Council, finally drawing to an end. As a disgruntled ratepayer, John joined the council as an independent in 1974, when Charlestown Square was on everybody's lips.
I was pretty unhappy with things that were happening, and the usual thing, you got angry and someone said, well, why don't you stand? And I said, yeah, why not?
With wife Ellen by his side, he's been a very well-liked mayor, bringing stability to the council at a very rocky time in 1993, when Mayor Doug Carley resigned after a vote of no confidence from his colleagues. John's been the force behind many major improvements and projects in Lake Macquarie.
We've had the North Power Stadium at Glendale built, the art gallery. But the best part, I think, has been probably the work done on cleaning up the lake.
Unable to commit to another 4-year term, John decided it was time to step down.
I want to take up painting again. I like painting. Haven't done it for a long time. I guess a lot of community work still. Ellen's been delivering Meals on Wheels for 30 years, so I'll probably become her driver. But we won't lose touch with people. We enjoy being with people.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Blue sky overhead meant green for go down below on two banks once again as organisers tried to catch up on action lost yesterday. It wasn't a good morning for everyone. But Anthony Walsh shot straight to the lead in his opening heat with a stand-up barrel before a second heat win had him surviving for another day. Merryweather's Travis Lynch hit the water for the first time in the open draw after finishing runner-up in the Pro Teen event at the weekend. He began with an 8-point ride to take out his heat, which included young Hawaiian Makua Rothman. The teenager rode to fame in 2002 by riding a 66-foot monster to win around $100,000. No such luck today as another homegrown wildcard, Dan Frodgham, furthered his claims, moving through to see Day 3 along with Lynch and Jared Morrell. Tom Curran won the first event here in 1985, but the 39-year-old didn't have much go his way today. The three-time world champion showing glimpses of his best before crashing out, but he'll remain in town to perform with his band.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully that'll go better than my heat.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
It's right here that much of the fabric used for the production of dryser bones, R.M. Williams coats, semi-trailer tarpaulins, tents and horse rugs is produced. Wax Converters Textiles is planning to expand its warehouse, installing weaving facilities that will be operated by a new electricity substation.
It basically makes our operations more vertical, and which will give us greater flexibility in and quality control on the fabrics we produce.
Until now, the company has been dyeing, finishing and coating fabric that has been imported, and it will, for the first time, begin weaving the base fabrics for its products in June. The company began operating in 1991 with just 2 employees. It now has 55 workers and boasts an annual turnover of around $18 million. Management hopes to increase those figures even further, employing an extra 12 people over the coming months.
Been an exciting development to sort of have so many young blokes start with you and watch them develop.
And within 2 years, Wax Converters will be looking to produce around 18,000 metres of woven fabric every week, exporting most of it to the United States, Canada, Asia, Fiji, Europe and New Zealand. Colleen West, NBN News. For Lane Beachley, taking on the men in the Energy Australia Open was all about improving herself as a competitor and boosting the profile of women's surfing. But after Andy Irons' comments today, like it or not for Lane, it's evolved into a whole lot more.
I think they should just stick to their own sport and their own side. I mean, they're amazing surfers, what they do, and the men don't need to cross it over. I don't think they do it in any other sport. So yeah, I'd like to see it just stay the way it is.
Beachley is a trailblazer for female surfers breaking down barriers. This latest criticism, yet another hurdle.
That was bound to happen, wasn't it? That was a definitely. I'm surprised it's taken this long for anyone to say that. You know, this is just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to go out there and test myself against the best male surfers in the world and teach me to be a stronger competitor, a fiercer competitor, because the guys don't like to be beaten by a girl.
Invited by organisers to surf, Beachley enters as the lowest seed.
You know, a few guys would have had that seed if she hasn't been in there, and they're trying to get QS points, and you know, they're pretty important for, you know, to get to the CT. So I'm sure there's a few people that are pretty bummed about it, but
He added that male surfers are much stronger and in a different class to women. Lane's response, let's wait and see.
Basically what it comes down to is if I'm out there against Andy, I catch a good wave and surf my best, and he doesn't catch a wave, I can win. And that's, you know, there's nothing that's stopping a woman golfer sinking a hole in one but her strength. But with surfing, you're up against the elements and the variety of Mother Nature.
The Irons versus Beachley matchup kicks off at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. Victoria's footbridge at Victoria Street Station has undergone a major upgrade to the tune of $600,000. The Transport Minister, Michael Costa, says it's just part of the government's commitment to improving rail services in the Hunter.
But there's real potential to increase patronage both on bus and rail in this area. We want to increase public transport, and this is part of providing additional services.
More than $100 million is also being spent building 14 new rail cars to replace the old ones which travel the Hunter Valley and Dungog lines.
There will be no reason why people can't expect a fast, comfortable and regular service from Maitland to Newcastle.
But don't expect that comfortable ride too soon. The rail cars won't be ready for use until the end of next year. The Transport Minister also used today's visit to deny reports of plans to close Dungog Railway Station. He says the government has no intention of removing train services from the town.
I don't know where these rumours started, but I can confirm that they are nonsense. There is no proposal to close Dungog Station. I wish people would speak to myself or the CEO before these things were printed as fact.
Lyndall Derrig, NBN News.
It's been another unbelievable week for the NRL. Plenty of controversy. The Bulldog saga, well, it seems to roll on with inexhaustible momentum. Video referees ruling out of their jurisdiction. We've also had game officials being sacked this week on separate incidents. But while it's been a week of trouble, I thought the highlight was nestled right in the middle of the controversy. Now, the South Tigers match was the game where incorrect time was kept during the Golden Point extra time period. But the game itself had everything. Now, these two traditional teams, usually reserved to the lower end of the ladder in recent years, launched into each other with the velocity of a semi-final. Now, there was plenty of excitement and rivalry, with 9 attempted field goals to win the match. Now, that's just amazing stuff. There was an inspirational tackle by South's lock Ashley Harrison on Jason Moody in a crucial part of the game. Adam McDougall created NRL history with the most metres made in a match with 323 metres, and he could find himself back in a New South Wales jumper with that type of form. But the main reason I thought the game was the positive for the week came from the emotion showed after the match. Now, the celebrations from the South officials and the players, the agony of defeat on the face of Tim Sheens and his men, it just showed how much the game meant to both these teams after giving their all. And that's what rugby league's all about. That's what we need at this current point in time. On the round threes tips, tonight's blockbuster between the Roosters and the Bulldogs should be a beauty. The Roosters are depleted, but I've tipped them to win. Tomorrow, the Sharks, Knights and the Raiders to win, while on Sunday, Warriors, Broncos and the Storm, they should get up. Good luck with your tips. I'll catch you next week.
A picture-perfect start to the second last day of competition at Surfest, but certainly a less than ideal heat draw for Novocastrian Paul Parks. The 29-year-old wildcard from Merewether pitted against six-time world champion Kelly Slater, the veteran making his first Surfest appearance in the round of 64. Despite his best efforts, Parks was simply outclassed, eliminated by Slater and Tahitian Alan Rao. The next to fly the local flag, Merewether's Reece Smith, but inconsistent conditions made the going tough for the 21-year-old, who only managed a meagre 9.46 total.
I had a bit of trouble finding the right wave. I sat for about 8 minutes and I should have just got straight into it, but I tried to wait for a set wave.
Last but certainly not least, the surprise packet of 2004, 17-year-old Swansea High School student Michael Spencer. The Grommet worked his way through 9 gruelling heats to make it to the round of 32, but was bundled out by 2 more experienced surfers.
Yeah, they were pretty tough, all professional surfers, so yeah, I don't know, I'll get used to it, I suppose.
Local historians installed a plaque and a honeysuckle tree near Wickham railway station today. They did it without the approval of local authorities, saying council nor the Honeysuckle Development Corporation were interested.
We're remembering the arrival of the 34 Irish convicts that were sent up to Newcastle after the Irish rebellion in Sydney. They didn't win the rebellion, they got a thumping from the...
There's a showdown between defending champion Rebecca Woods and world circuit surfer Lynette McKenzie. The two jostled for dominance in the deteriorating swell, but a 9.7 ride from the world junior champion put Woods well and truly ahead, and it seemed out of reach for McKenzie. Despite showing moments of brilliance herself, the Sydney-sider fell victim to poor wave selection. 19-year-old Woods from Copacabana on the Central Coast walked away with consecutive women's pro titles.
Can't believe it, hey, I'm just like, didn't really expect it. It was just out there trying to get some good waves and that's happened, so.
Jessica Phyllis, NBN News.
To the younger fans, this is what it's all about, trying to get their piece of surfing's royalty before Surffest's final curtain falls. And what a show. Six-time world champion Kelly Slater didn't take long to ease into the Newcastle break, taking just minutes to post this perfect ride. Avoca Beach's Adrian Buchan was breathing down his neck though, as was Phil McDonald from the state's South Coast. But nothing, not even a snapped board with just 6 minutes remaining could hamper his push for his first Energy Australia Open title.
That's a crucial time in a heat too for a board to break, but in hindsight, I guess the board served its purpose and knew it was time to go or something.
A humble Adrian Buchan finishing second, but with a personal win of having competed against this calibre of surfer.
It's only a 4-star, but like everyone knows, it's one of the hardest events to win, so I'm really honoured to get second, you know, in the contest, which is in the name of Emma.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News. Still showing scars from a prior break-in, the PCYC at Windale has again been the target of vandals and thieves, the most recent break-and-enters occurring within 72 hours of each other, the latest on Friday night. Early estimates show the damage bill and value of stolen items could top the $10,000 mark.
We had 10 brown mongoose push bikes which we used to run programs with the kids. They've taken all those. They've taken our last 2 radios where we had music.
2 computers were also taken. All up, it's cost the PCYC in excess of $100,000 since December. Now it's struggling to upkeep its community service programs.
It's just, killing us, you know what I mean? So we just got to hopefully that these guys will stop, doing what they're doing and leave us alone, because there's nothing left in the place. They've taken everything we have.
It's believed the thieves smashed their way through the front glass doors, an entry made easier as it was awaiting repairs following a prior break-in. It's patched up now, with other options being considered.
Still roller shutters at the front doors, a security fence right around the whole lot. But as you know, that costs money, and it's big money, and we've asked them for help and try and get that stuff done.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
Local historians installed a plaque and a honeysuckle tree near Wickham Railway Station today. They did it without the approval of local authorities, saying council nor the Honeysuckle Development Corporation were interested.
We're remembering the arrival of the 34 Irish convicts that were sent up to Newcastle after the Irish rebellion in Sydney.
Honeysuckle says it was never approached, and Newcastle Council says it's planning to mark today's anniversary at the end of May. Meantime, historians and surveyors believe they've located 3 old coal drifts under Fort Scratchley and today gave walking tours of the area.
They were worked with convict labour probably for about 10 years, so from 1804 to 1814. And as well, we're just looking at the general history of this whole area as well, because we feel that it's the heart of Newcastle here. The city started here.
Some would like to see the area made into a permanent attraction.
This is the birthplace of Newcastle, and Newcastle's all about coal, and we've got to have a real visitor centre here that has a real location. This is the location in Newcastle, actually.
For so long it was the Johns brothers who filled the number 6 and 7 jumpers at Newcastle. While he'd thought about it before, injury has finally forced coach Michael Hagan's hand in selecting another pair of siblings, Kurt and Matt Gidley, in a makeshift combination.
There's a couple of other options that we can look at, but in the short term it's probably the best option we can come up with.
Ben Kennedy was the obvious choice as captain, but prefers to let actions speak louder than words.
I think talk's cheap. You can say anything, but I really want to get out there and lead. I certainly wasn't happy with my game on the weekend. So,
understanding the pressure that comes with the captaincy, Kennedy is honoured to lead a side keen to prove a point.
Show a few people that we're not dead and buried. We're certainly in this comp up to our eyeballs.
The side named today to play the Dragons is still a long way from definite. Injury clouds hang over the fullback and both wingers, but all 3 will be given until late in the week to prove their fitness. While the front row combination revolves again, with Adam Woolnough back in the run-on side with Josh Perry.
And I guess they've shown again on the weekend that they're doing things very well and they deserve that opportunity to start up front.
The match in Wollongong will be Newcastle's first in the Steel City in just over 6 years.
Organisers claim it's more than just a talk fest. The annual Newcastle City Youth Forum is making a difference. Just like last year, transport issues, including safety on buses and trains, topped today's discussion agenda. And it seems the concerns of our 12 to 24-year-olds are filtering through to a state level, with results from last year's forum currently being used in government transport studies.
So now we're trying to get more and more information that we can then pass on further to higher bodies that hopefully can make a difference to young people.
The event, which has been running for 20 years, has seen the birth of new opportunities for young people, including the creation of council positions and new venues. The Palais Youth Venue was established following a youth forum in Newcastle 10 years ago. The forum is about giving our young people a voice in the community, and today there were calls for more youth-focused events.
More funding as well might help for our activities because we've all got ideas and we all want to implement them, but money's always a problem.
Colleen West, NBN News. It's his signature event, and last night Justin Norris's name was written all over the 200 metres butterfly final. The 3-time national champion had his sights set on a 4th title and an Olympic berth in the event that's earned him so much publicity. It couldn't have been scripted any better for the Olympic bronze medalist Justin Norris and Travis Netterpelt, finishing 1-2 in a repeat of the 400 metres individual medley. Norris stopped the clock at 1:56.25, just 0.08 outside the Australian record.
That was the one I really wanted to qualify in, so stoked I've done that.
He'll line up against one of the best swimmers in the world at Athens in both the 200-metre butterfly and 400 IM. Michael Phelps from the United States providing him with plenty of reasons to keep his toes wet.
I think this one's probably my best chance at challenging Michael, so I've got a couple of seconds to drop, but I think I'm capable of that.
Colleen West, NBN News.
Recent wet weather may have set back the construction timetable, but East Golf and Leisure Club opened this morning as planned. It's the result of the century-old Maitland Golf Club amalgamating with East Maitland Bowling Club. While the number of poker machines often influences unions like this, the bowlers had no hesitations helping the golfers achieve a long-held dream of having a new clubhouse overlooking their course.
I think it's been a decision that some clubs may not have made with the state government's capping of machines, but see, we only picked up 21 licences here, so it'll probably mean that this club can go on for another 100 years.
There was plenty of competition for the contract to build the totally new licensed club, with Central Coast firm Stevens Constructions given the task.
Fair few people that tendered on this job were keen to have a go at it because it's one of the very few that's from virgin soil right up to the finishing thing, so you get a real good go at it.
The old golf club site will have a future, with strong interest already being shown in redevelopment plans. Gary Blair, NBN News.
This piece of furniture could be a godsend for those living in small apartments or looking to maximise shop floor space. It's a bookshelf. No, wait, it's a table. In fact, it's both. And while this gown made from the inners of rubber bike tyres isn't quite so practical, it certainly shows student designer Bailey Markham was thinking outside the square. These are just two of the innovative items in the travelling design tech display at the Newcastle Regional Museum. Another exhibition exposing outstanding student talent is Art Express, opening tonight at the Newcastle Regional Art Gallery. Serena Francis is one of dozens of artists showcased. Her four-piece sculpture made the cut.
Just coming into art galleries all these years and finally seeing your own work in there is definitely a big shock.
An incredible range of media has been used to produce this year's artworks, which range from traditional oil on canvas to outdoor installations.
Artists have gone outside of the classroom and outside of the gallery space to do artworks, and they're the most exciting.
Art Express will tour regional New South Wales for the next 12 months. Jessica Phillis, NBN News.
Despite numerous searches, not a trace of the plane or its 5 passengers have been sighted since August 1981. The Cessna 210 was returning to Sydney when it struck wild weather over the Barrington Tops, where it presumably crashed. On the same night, Betty Diver was driving home to her Dungog property when she says she saw 2 bright lights 10 minutes apart.
When I saw the first light, I thought it was a big star. It looked like a big star, and I thought, well, that's unusual. And then it went out, just disappeared.
After learning of the plane crash on NBN News the next day, she reported her story to police. 20 years on, she believes what she saw was flares. The question remains, where did they come from? Originally, experts told her there were no aircraft in the area. Now the Army has revealed there may have been manoeuvres in the area that night.
But had they been flares from the crash, then somebody had survived and were out there and were never rescued. So I prefer to believe that they were flares from the Army now.
It's hoped the truth will finally be uncovered this weekend when a search resumes for the plane.
I really would like them to find something and finish it.
Lyndall Derrig, NBN News.
There were no names added to the Jim Comerford Memorial Wall this year, a sign some say local mining companies are providing safer workplaces.
But it doesn't mean that we at all should ease up on our vigilance as far as the industry is concerned.
Although many names don't appear on the wall, there were tributes too for those miners who died away from the workplace.
It's a fine line between recognition of those that actually were killed on the job and those that have passed away because of illness or injury caused by mining. So it's still a very hazardous industry.
And James Wood knows all too well the dangers of the job. His dad, one of 2 family members who never came home from a day's work at the mine.
Here today to remember my father, Stephen Wood, and my cousin George Barr, who died in the industry over the last 40 years. And remembering very dearly because I'm starting to feel more emotional than I have for quite a while.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
It's this parcel of prime real estate that's been the cause of so much controversy since the Ocean Street nursing home closed 2 years ago. Today, the Dudley Progress Association began the next chapter of its fight to have the site developed into an aged care facility, delivering 80 letters to State Member for Charlestown, Matthew Morris.
If we can get an aged care provider to come in, we will save them about $6 million every year by taking aged people out of critical care beds.
But that figure has not been backed up by the Hunter Area Health Service, who today said it will progress with the sale of the property, with all proceeds going back into health facilities. The Dudley Progress Association claims it's been ignored by Hunter Area Health, despite claims from the service that it wants to work alongside the local community. The group says it would like to see the health service lease the site to a private operator. There is a slight hitch though, with the Port Stephens-based company today confirming it's no longer interested. Meantime, the state government has overruled the zoning of the land from conservation to residential, paving the way for possible high-density development.
There would be incursions of people and domestic animals and motorbikes and whatever into the park, which would tend to degrade it considerably.
Colleen West, NBN News. It certainly brings new meaning to the notion of private healthcare. These are the views from some of the rooms of the newly developed Newcastle Private Hospital, which has quadrupled in size following a $40 million expansion.
We've thought for a long time and done a lot of research that would suggest that the need for private hospital beds in the future is just going to grow and grow as the population ages.
There are 119 new beds, and today 18 of those were filled with the first wave of patients. 350 new part and full-time workers have taken up positions and will help man the new facility, which includes a 10-bed intensive care unit and 5 operating theatres that were put to use for the first time this morning. Patient rehabilitation, therapy areas and a hydrotherapy pool are also included.
That drain of patients going to Sydney will perhaps just become a trickle.
Colleen West, NBN News.
These people represent the coal and power companies that are polluting the Hunter River. They spent today buying credits from the state government, which will allow them to discharge varying amounts of salt water into the river. But according to the Environment Minister, the scheme they're all a part of has cut the amount of salt in the waterway by up to 2/3.
The scheme's managed to turn a river that was, it's fair to say, crippled by salinity, often unfit for irrigation, into a river with less salt than your average bottle of mineral water.
The pilot scheme has been operating for almost a decade, but today was the first time the state government has sold off the credits. 200 were auctioned at an average price of $500 each. Macquarie Generation bought 50 credits at a cost of around $25,000.
We have a cooperative arrangement here where industry will discharge only when the river is in high flow and according to their salinity credits. Irrigators get fresher water, the environment benefits.
Salt's an issue that's had to be managed in the Hunter Valley since white settlement. So this scheme provides a much stronger new way to ensure that industrial activity never makes the river too salty.
Paul Lobb, NBN News. It was a lengthy wait just to get to the counter at seafood stores across the region today. Thousands of people got in early but still had to wait for their favourite seafood items.
Some king prawns and just fish. Prawns and some kind of fish. I haven't decided what yet.
When they close at 9 tonight, DeCosti Seafoods at Westfield Katara will have been open for 36 hours to meet demand.
Fish fillets and lots of prawns. Very surprising. We weren't prepared for the prawns at first, but in the end we did. But geez, they're buying some prawns today.
The rush on prawns hasn't been the only surprise.
A lot of marinated fish and the gourmet stuff. We have things like the prawn skewers and garlic prawns and marinara mix and stuff like that. That's very popular.
Because it's Good Friday and Easter and it's a nice celebration time to be with family and friends.
The Newcastle Commercial Fishermen's Co-op will be open from 6 till 1 tomorrow. Meantime, students from St Philip's Christian College at Waratah spread some Easter goodwill today by delivering hundreds of chocolate eggs to patients and their families at the Mater Hospital.
Don McAlpine is currently enjoying a fairly rare moment to relax at his home in McMaster's Beach, in the middle of a busy schedule including the recent shooting of Disney's Peter Pan. The prominent cinematographer, nominated for an Oscar for Moulin Rouge, has also agreed to be patron of the local Screen Production Alliance.
Every film is going to be different, and every film is going to require a different location. But there's got to be some really good films that could absorb the beauty of the Central Coast.
The man whose credits include the Australian classic Breaker Morant, plus a host of other films shot here and abroad, says the Alliance will bring together industry professionals with a common aim to promote the region as a premium location for film production.
You only have to score once or twice, and the rewards are fantastic. I mean, the average movie is costing between 20 and 30 million, and they leave at least a quarter of that money in the community where it's shot.
David Gardner, NBN News.
Well, there's a lovely photograph of the sun just peeping through the dark clouds above and below, and it illustrates my Easter message for this year, which is about hope in the struggle, that the dark clouds of course represent the struggle and the darkness that people often experience, and the sun peeping through above and below just show how even in the darkest moments there's light and there's life and there's encouragement to go on. And I think Easter speaks of that, certainly to me.
Greetings, friends. Every one of us at some point of time in our lives is wounded. The question is, what do we do with those wounds? Do the wounds become weapons of hate, or do they become instruments of love? Jesus comes to us in his risen glory, shows us his wounds that were inflicted by hate, and says to us, "Peace be with you." May the wounds of our life be instruments of peace and love to ourselves and to others. Have a holy and happy Easter.
A long flight and bus ride home made last night's win seem an age ago, but a victory like that is meant to be savoured.
There's a lot of emotion, I think, attached to the game, and and you've got to enjoy the wins at the moment because they're pretty hard to come by.
Kurt Gidley's battle-weary face told the story of a torrid match, but it was hard to hide the smile after his man-of-the-match performance in that famous number 7 jumper.
Didn't give in with 5 minutes to go. We're still under the pump with only 4 points in front, so we dug pretty deep.
That was before Daniel Abraham must have felt the weight of the whole club on his shoulders while running in the match winner to cap a win that meant so much for this side given the past few weeks.
A lot of people have got some doubts and I guess entitled to ask questions, and I couldn't be happy with the way the players responded.
None more so than the skipper, Hagan, singling out Ben Kennedy while still heaping praise on his pack.
Someone that we know is carrying a few things. He was absolutely outstanding for 80 minutes.
But the coach well knows the challenge now is to maintain the rage.
And week's not everything, but it's certainly a good start.
And not a bad way to warm up for the Roosters this Sunday and their first home game this season.